Today, we're going to talk about something that might seem a little backward. It's this idea that real power, the kind that actually wins arguments and reshapes negotiations, doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you don't say.
So, have you ever wondered how the really smart people win? I mean, the true strategists. It's not by being the loudest person in the room. They're not trying to prove a point or win over an audience. Nope, they're playing a completely different game. It's this simple. They just don't say anything. Seriously, they're the ones sitting back, watching everything, just observing and waiting. And then, when the time is just right, they make their move, quietly. And they win. No shouting necessary.
All right, so let's get into our first big idea here, the silence paradox. You know, this isn't some new age concept. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche was all over this. He couldn't care less about the loud, flashy kind of power. What really got his attention was the quiet power, the stuff that works behind the scenes. And this really gets to the heart of it all. Think about it. We live in a world that is just obsessed with noise, right? Everyone is shouting to be heard, posting every single thought. But Nietzsche saw through that. He knew most of it is just noise. The real advantage, the actual leverage, that's found in silence.
Which brings us to point number 2. Words are noise. I mean, look around. Everyone's got a megaphone, everyone's broadcasting 24/7. But how many people are actually thinking before they speak? Not many. And that right there is where the smart players find their edge.
Here's why. Every single time you open your mouth, you're giving something away. You're showing your cards, your weaknesses, what you really want. In this world of constant oversharing and knee-jerk reactions, the one who can just hold back, the one who doesn't reveal anything, that person instantly becomes the most powerful one in the room, for sure. So really, you can think of it like two different games happening at the same time. There's the loud game. That's where you react, you explain yourself, you get defensive. Basically, you're showing your entire hand. And then there's the silent game. That's about observing, holding back, controlling the situation, and yeah, winning.
Okay, so let's move on to our third section. Silence is strategy. And this is so important. Silence is not passive. It's not weakness. It's not about being shy or having nothing to say. No way. It's an active, even offensive tool. It's a weapon you use to take control.
So how does this actually work in practice? Well, think about it. When you stay silent, you create this void, this vacuum. And people hate a vacuum. So what do? First, they get uncertain. Then they start filling that silence with their own stuff. Their fears, their assumptions, they project it all onto you. And that leads them to over-explain, to start justifying themselves, and boom. They've just told you everything you need to know. And you haven't said a single word. You're now in control.
Now, this is a tough one for a lot of us, myself included. We're wired to want to be understood, to be liked, but you have to get this. The goal isn't validation. The goal is to be effective. And being effective often means knowing what not to say.
And that brings us to what's really at the heart of all this. Section 4, the internal game. Because look, anyone can just physically keep their mouth shut for a few minutes. That's not the hard part. The real skill is having that deep internal foundation of emotional control. That's the whole shebang.
I mean, just think about this for a second. Every single reaction is a confession. When you lash out in anger, when you get frustrated, you're basically shouting, I'm not in control of myself, you are. You're telling the other person exactly how to push your buttons. It's why we're so drawn to people with real stillness. We instinctively know how hard that is to achieve.
And Nietzsche just nailed this. He said, he who cannot put his thoughts on ice should not enter into the heat of dispute, right? If you can't stay cool under pressure, you have no business being in the kitchen. Emotional control isn't a bonus feature, it's the price of entry. And here's the battle that's going on inside all of us, right? You've got your ego. And your ego is loud. It's screaming to be heard. It wants to jump in, prove it's right, defend itself. It just craves that spotlight. But the master is playing chess, while the ego is playing checkers. The master doesn't need to be seen. The master wants to see. They'll gladly let the ego-driven people talk first. Let them brag, let them try to impress everyone. Because while they're doing that, the master is just sitting back, listening, and learning absolutely everything. And when you can do this consistently, you reach a state that Nietzsche would have called emotional detachment.
Now, this isn't about being a cold, unfeeling robot. Not at all. It's about outgrowing the need to convince people of anything. You just don't need their approval anymore. And let me tell you, when you get to that place, you become practically bulletproof. It's almost impossible to manipulate you. All right, let's land the plane. Our final section, winning without a word. This is where we talk about the payoff. What's the ultimate advantage you get when you master this stuff in the real world?
The power here is immense. I mean, think about it. People are deeply uncomfortable with what they can't figure out. If they can't put you in a box, they can't control you. And so the dynamic flips. Suddenly, they start reacting to you. They adjust to your quiet presence. You're not just playing their game anymore. You've become a force of nature they have to deal with.
So at the end of the day, this isn't just some trick or tactic you can pull out of a bag. It's a fundamental shift in your mindset. Your real power, it truly begins the moment you become okay with being silent. The moment you let go of that need to be heard, that need for approval.
And this final quote from Nietzsche really sums up the long game. It is not the strength, but the duration of great sentiments that makes great men. What he's saying is it's not about the big, loud, flashy moments. That's fleeting. Real influence, the kind that lasts, is built day in and day out through consistent self-control, through restraint. That's what turns you from a person into a force to be reckoned with. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. We live in a world that is practically begging you to speak up, to react, to add to the noise. So my question for you is, what will you choose to leave unsaid?